Hi guys, it's Miss Kinman. I am going to be doing a factoring review. You guys have gotten a factoring worksheet off the internet. If you can't print it up, that's okay. Just get a piece of paper out and work out the problems. I am going to do 7 of these together with you, and then you'll need to do the rest on your own. We are going to do, in this video, I'm doing factoring review with the box method. So I will do another video with factoring by grouping. You don't need to watch one of them like we talked about in class. Pick which method you like best and then just do that one. Or if you're in a different class and your teacher is assigning it to you, then he or she may pick the one they did in class for you to watch. But I taught my kids both methods and they got to choose. Alright, the first one I'm going to do is number 1. Okay, this one turns out to be the difference of 2 squares, a squared minus b squared, which factors into a minus b and a plus b. If you don't recognize that, that's how I want to address this problem. If you do not recognize that right away. And I went to, so if I'm doing the box method, I need to first start off with my x. So I need to do 4 times negative 49. And I get negative 196. In this problem, I do not have a middle term, so that is 0. Okay. I know that 196 is 14 times 14, so I'm going to have 14 and negative 14. If my middle number is ever 0, I know that these two need to be the same number, just opposite sides. So to set up my box, I put the first term in the first box, and the last term in the last box. And then in my 2 other boxes, I use this. The variable for this is usually what the middle variable is, which would be plus 0n. So I'm going to put an n with both of those. And then I look for my GCF. 4 is 2 times 2, and 14 is 2 times 7. So 2 goes into both those, and they both have n's. 14 again is 2 times 7. 49 is 7 times 7. So they both have 7 in that, but then they need a negative. Okay. And then I look at my columns. 4 and negative 14. Again, 2 goes into that. And then over here, 7 goes into it. But this one's going to be positive because the 14 here was positive. So my answer is 2n plus 7 and 2n minus 7. So if I look at the worksheet, 2n plus 7 is 9 and 2n minus 7 is g. So if I do the puzzle in box 9, I will write a g. If you recognize this to be the difference of 2 squares, 4n squared is 2n quantity squared, and 49 is 7 squared. So 2n would be my a, and 7 would be my b, and so I'd have 2n minus 7 and 2n plus 7. So that's again g and 9. So it works out either way you do it, but that's what happens when there's not a middle term. It's the difference of 2 squares. Alright, so the next one I'm going to work with you all is 3. So with my x, I'm going to multiply 1 times 20 is 20, and negative 9 is my middle term. So things that multiply to give me 20 are 1 and 20, 2 and 10, and 4 and 5. If I'm multiplying to get a positive, my signs need to be the same. And I'm adding to get a negative, they need to both be negative, so I make everything negative, and it looks like my 2 numbers are negative 4 and negative 5. So I'm going to set up my box, and I get n squared plus 20, and I get negative 4n and negative 5n. Okay, those came from these 2 numbers. The n came from up here. So in my first row, these both have n's in it. And then 5 is 5 times 1, 20 is 5 times 4, so 5 is my GCF, but it needs to be negative because this number is negative. And then in my column, they both have n's in it. 4 is 4 times 1 or 2 times 2. 20 is 2 times 10, but it's also 4 times 5, so 4 is the GCF. And again, I need to make it negative because we've got negative there. So I've got n minus 4 and n minus 5. Okay, when my leading coefficient is 1, it does turn out that those two numbers are going to be the numbers in my answer. So if you would like to take that shortcut, that is available. N minus 4 is 14, and n minus 5 is P. So in box 14, I would write P. All right, the next one I'm going to do with you is number 6. And then in number 6, I've got 3n squared minus 8n plus 5. So for my x, I've got to do 3 times 5, which is 15, and I'm adding to get negative 8. So 15 is 1 times 15, and 3 times 5. Again, same signs. I'm going to multiply to get a positive and add to get negative, so everything needs to be negative. So we're looking at negative 3 and negative 5. So then I set up my box, and I get 3n squared and 5, and then negative 3n and negative 5n. So this is kind of nice. They both have 3's in it, so I know 3 is my GCF, and they both have n's in it. Here they both have 5's in it, so I put out a 5, and it needs to be negative. Now 3 and 5 are both what we call relatively prime numbers. They have nothing in common. So I need something there, so maybe I write a 1, but it also has an n, so I don't really need that 1 in that. I could just write n. But over here, I do need a 1, because they don't have n in common, but I need it to be negative. So then I have n minus 1 and 3n minus 5. So n minus 1 is 18, and 3 minus 5 is s. And if you haven't seen this worksheet, your teacher should get it to you somehow. I'm going to have mine on Google Drive. It's how can fishermen save gas, and the highlighted ones are the ones that I am doing with you. All right, number 7 is a squared plus 4a minus 21. I'm going to multiply to get negative 21 and add to get 4. So 1 times 21, 21, or 3 times 7. This time I am multiplying to get a negative and adding to get a positive. So that means we need our smaller number to be negative and our larger number to be positive. So negative 1 plus 21 is 20. Negative 3 plus 7 is 4, so those are the two I'm going to use. So then I set up my box. First term in the first box, last term in the last box. And then I accidentally switched them. The order truly doesn't matter. I was looking over here a little bit closer, but I put 7a and negative 3a. I've been putting that number first and that number second, but really the order doesn't matter. So a goes into both of those, and down here negative 3 goes into both of those. In the column, only a goes into that. 7 is 7 times 1. 21 is 3 times 21, so I would put plus 7. So I've got a plus 7 and a minus 3. So a plus 7 is 13, and a minus 3 is p. So in box 13, I would put p. Alright, then I'm going to do number 12. So I'm going to multiply to get 10 times negative 1, so negative 10. Remember, it's the first number times the last number is how we get the top, and the middle number is the bottom. So I think about what multiplies to get negative or multiplies to get 10, 1 times 10, and 2 times 5. If I'm multiplying to get a negative, I need the signs to be different, and if I'm adding to get a negative, I need the bigger number to be negative. So it looks like I got 2 and negative 5. Double check. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. 2 plus negative 5 is negative 3. So then we set up our box. First term in the first box, last term in the last box. The middle two boxes come from our x, 2a, and negative 5a. So 10 is 2 times 5, and 2 is 2 times 1. So 2 is in both those. They also both have a's. 1, nothing's going to go into 1 in any number, so I know that needs to be 1, but it does need to be negative because of that right there. 10 and 5, 5 goes into both those, and a. 2 and 1, I have plus a, or plus 1, sorry. So 5a plus 1, and 2a minus 1. So 5a plus 1 is 5, and 2a minus 1 is r. Okay, now I'm going to look at number 13. These numbers are getting a little bigger. 8u squared plus 19u plus 6. So I get 8u squared and 6. Alright. Oh, I didn't do my box yet, or my x yet. 8 times 6 is 42. 48, sorry, my mistake. And we're adding to get 19. So lots of factors of 48. 1 and 48, 2 and 24, 3 and 16, 4 and 12, 6 and 8. So lots of factors. We are multiplying to get a positive and adding to get a positive. So we're looking at 3 and 16. So 3u and 16u. Oh, I've been doing that in green. I don't know if you can even tell that. So our GCFs, 8 and 3 don't have anything in common, so I could put a 1, but I do have a u there. 16 is 2 times 8, and 6 is 2 times 3, so they both have a 2 in common. Here we both have a u. 8 is 8 times 1, 16 is 8 times 2, so they both have an 8 in common. 3 is 3 times 1, and 6 is 3 times 2, so they have a 1 in common. So then I've got 8u plus 1 and u plus 2. 8u plus 1. Oh, that should be a 3. See, good thing I had those choices there because I didn't get it right. Is O, and u plus 2 is 15. So then number 15, this is the last one I'm going to do with you. 3u squared minus 11u minus 14. So 3 times negative 14 is negative 42. And we're going to multiply to get negative 11. So again, like the last one, 42 has a lot of factors. 1 and 42, 2 and 21, 3 and 14, 6 and 7. Multiplying to get a negative and adding to get a negative. I need my bigger number to be negative so I can add to get a negative. If a smaller number was negative, I'd be adding to get a positive. It's looking like 3 minus 14 is negative 11. So I'm going to set up my box. First number in the first box, last number in the last box. And then I've got 3u and negative 14u. These work out nicely. So these both have a 3u in it, and these both have a negative 14. 3 and 14 don't have anything in common, but they do have a u. Again, 3 and 14 don't have anything in common, so I have to put something there, so I put a 1. So I've got u plus 1 and 3u minus 14. So u plus 1 is m, 3u minus 14 is 6. So see how you can do on the rest of them if you have trouble. Oh, you can't even see my last problem. There's my last problem. Sorry about that. If you have trouble, feel free to contact your teacher or even contact me, even if you're not in my class.